Friday, the Friday after Good Friday. There will be another Friday, but it's not today. Today is this Friday. And this Friday, I am in my Father's house, and I am looking at something that happened over 2,000 years ago in the history book. It's recorded. It's recorded, and I'm reading from it. And Jesus has said some things to some people, and they heard every word. It says that Jesus was teaching in the temple every day after he got to town. And the people there were hanging. It says here, hanging upon his words. They had followed him all over the country. They knew the man. They had seen the things he had done. And now he's in Jerusalem for Passover. And this is going to be the last Passover that Jesus goes to Jerusalem for. And he just told them about what was going to happen to Jerusalem. I just read it. The day shall come upon you when your enemies will throw up a bank before you and surround you and hem you in on every side. And they will level you to the ground and your children within you. And they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. I just read it again, right from the history book. Yes, I am reading, and I will go further. Jesus has spoken to them. They've heard him speaking. And in case somebody wanted to find out where I am looking, just turn to Luke chapter 20, and you will find these words. It came about on one of the days while he was teaching the people in the temple and preaching the gospel, that the chief priests and the scribes and the elders showed up. They weren't happy, and they showed up. And they spoke to him saying, realize, folks, these are important people have showed up. There may be some important people show up to my house today. They may have questions for me. Who knows? But today's Friday. It's the Friday after Good Friday. I had a calendar. And Jesus is speaking. And he is going to respond to them. They ask him, you are doing all these things? Who is the one who gave you authority? Or this authority? Or that authority? I can only read what it says. It says here, tell us by what authority you are doing these things, or who is the one who gave you this authority. That's what they wanted to know. And Jesus answered to them and said, I will ask you a question, and you tell me. Jesus is really being nice to them. I mean, there's a multitude of things that he could have done, and a number of other things he could have said. But he didn't say it, because it says here, I shall ask you a question, and you tell me. Was the baptism of John from heaven or from men? The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men? The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men? John had come and told him, and his words were, there is one coming after me. And the one who came after him is asking the questions right here. And some of these people had seen John. It hadn't been that many years earlier. They knew John. They knew what had happened to John. His head had been removed from his body. Now, they, the people, the smart ones, the scribes, and the elders, they reasoned among themselves. In other words, Jesus gave them a few minutes to see what they could come up with. And they said, if we say from heaven, he will say, why did you not believe him? If we say from men, all the people will stone us to death. You know they weren't fixing to. They're not going to choose. There was more of the people than there was of them. That they weren't going to choose the latter. No. They knew what would happen. I mean, these people weren't really that dumb, were they? These were the scribes and the elders. And they answered, they said, we don't know. We don't know. And Jesus said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. And he began to tell the people a parable. A man planted a vineyard and rented it out to vine growers and went on a journey for a long time. And then the harvest came. He sent a slave to the vine growers in order that they might give him some of the produce of the vineyard. But the vine growers beat him and sent him away empty-handed. And he proceeded to send another slave, and they beat him also and treated him shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. He proceeded to send a third, and this one they also wounded and cast out. And the owner of the vineyard said, what shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the vine growers saw him, they reasoned with one another, saying, this is the heir, let's kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. And they threw him out of the vineyard, and they killed him. Jesus' question was, what therefore will the owner of the vineyard do to them? Folks, we're going to find out someday what the owner of the vineyard does, because they did kill him. But God, the owner of the vineyard, raised him from the dead. And this is the end of the third video.